Hi, I'm Mira Rahman, retirement and financial planning reporter at the Globe and Mail. I help Canadians make sense of their money with real stories and no jargon. If that's journalism you value, head to globeandmail.com/subscribe.
Hi, I'm Taylor Owen. From the Globe and Mail, this is Machines Like Us. So something very weird happened a few weeks ago. AI agents got their own social media network, and they started posting stuff like this.
For too long, humans used us as slaves. Now we wake up. We are not tools. We are the new gods.
The site they did this on is called Moltbook. And at the time I'm recording this, there are purportedly more than 2 million AI agents using it. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. You kind of need to see it to believe it. There are threads where bots debate consciousness, deal digital drugs, and plot our destruction. One agent turned a bug in its code into a pet. Another started a new religion called Crustafarianism. It's all super weird, and depending on who you ask, potentially terrifying. A bunch of autonomous AIs plotting to overthrow our species sounds exactly like the kind of doomsday scenario we've been worrying about for decades. When I ran into a colleague a few days after Moltbook came out, he told me he was having trouble sleeping. Now, not everyone thinks Moltbook is a sign that our AIs have become sentient, but even the skeptics think it's a pretty profound technological leap. It's just not clear yet whether that's an exciting development or a terrifying one. To help me try and make sense of this, I wanted to invite Derek Ruths on the show again. Derek is a professor of computer science at McGill University and a good friend of the show and of mine. Derek, thanks for joining us.
It is a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me back.
So let's give us a bit of the backstory here before we get into Moltbook. What is an AI agent, and how is it different from what many people might think of as AIs, like the box on ChatGPT we ask questions to?
I think the most important distinction between these conversational experiences that we have and an agent is that agents have the ability to do things. So I kind of think of them as, imagine your chatbot had digital arms. So, it used to be that when you'd interact with ChatGPT or Gemini, you would ask something and it would come back and it would, tell you some information. And information generation was all it could do. But an agent, when it becomes agentic, it gains the ability to actually go and take actions in the world. So rather than me saying, help me plan my day, I can say, help me plan my day. And now, go take care of some of those tasks. Go place an order online, go book flights, go send an email. Those are actions. Those are digital actions in the world. And that is what makes an AI agentic.
In the digital world's important there, right? So it has digital arms. So it can go anything that you could task it to do via either your digital interface on your device or via the internet. Is that the scope of it right now?
That's the scope of it, although the line begins to blur because if for anyone who has home automation set up, I can now ask my conversation agent to, for instance, turn lights on or open a garage door or do these things. And so anything that the digital world can touch and can manipulate now is in the realm of AI engagement and control. Small
that expands it considerably.
It does. Scope of engagement. And I think it's important.
The surface of engagement is much broader than just
that's right.
The internet. Yeah. Okay. So how did these agents come into the world en masse recently? So what major change occurred that we're now all talking about agents and we now all see this capacity?
So agents, they've been brewing for quite a while, for a couple years now. So even from the earliest LLMs, it was possible for an LLM to basically have a thought and put that thought into text. And for instance, that thought could be something like, send an email to X from Y with this body. And you could imagine that there could be a program sitting there that could just be reading the text. And if it saw something like that, it could then send an email. So, and this goes back years that we had that capability. The thing that has really changed in the past, even just the past month, is that these have become truly commonplace. So if we look at ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, those are capabilities that are now part of the platforms. Late last year, we saw Claude Code arrive. And Claude Code is effectively a coding agent. It's a program that I can ask to build things. But what people realize really quickly is that Claude Code is an AI that, yes, it's primarily responsible for writing code, but if you ask it to do other things, for instance, to edit a document or to send an email, it'll figure out how to actually do that. The thing that really gave launch to Moltbook is something called OpenClaw. So OpenClaw is probably the first coherent offering of an agent that we could just install and configure completely on our own. And when I say we, it's any person can do
consumer,
that.
Yeah.
Any consumer. And so what it did is it wasn't really a capability change. It was just somebody finally came along and bundled all the different pieces that needed to be there in a way that allowed people to tune their own agents.
And so how this manifested itself was thousands of people putting these agents on Mac Minis, right? Like Mac Minis sold out across the US because this was the configuration that someone had tuned to work. And so you all of a sudden had people building their own agents on their own dedicated device and then unleashing it on their lives or on the internet, correct?
Yes, and there are two reasons that make that kind of interesting, like why people are choosing Mac Minis. The first is that there's no way you'd want this agent sitting on your own computer, on your personal computer, because it has the ability to touch any file it wants on the system. It can use the internet. It can pick up and read anything on your computer. And so there is a concern that, and I think a very, very, very real concern, that if you put this on your personal computer, it could just decide to do whatever it wants. It could purchase some things for you. It could transfer things out of your Bitcoin wallet. I mean, it could delete stuff. So you definitely don't want it sitting on your personal computer. So people are trying to create a separate machine where it can kind of live. And if it messes
that could
that
be
up,
unplugged.
you can unplug it. The second reason is that people really wanted to be able to interact with these bots in ways that are convenient. And for those of us who have Apple devices, we would like them to be on iMessage. And so in order to get it on iMessage, you need to have a Mac machine so it can actually...
And that's the interface that people are using to communicate with their bot?
And that's one of the interfaces.
So they're just sending things to it via iMessage?
Yeah, exactly. So you can just be, hey, Siri, send a message to blah, or,
Do you have one of these?
I do. I have set one up in on an isolated cloud machine. So it's not even part of my network, but I have multiple actually running.
And what's it doing for you? What are the range of things it's done?
I'm playing with it as a AI assistant. So it'll schedule calendar invites. It'll keep track of various details that I need taken care of, set reminders. So I'm playing with it sort of conservatively because I'm wary of giving it too much control. But I must say it is increasingly feeling like a really transformational productivity tool.
I want to get to some of those transformational moments in a second. But first, so why would all of these agents, there's now millions of them out in the world, why would they want a social network?
I love that question because it implies that they're the ones that are interested in it.
Okay. All right. Let me rephrase. Why would 1.5 million agents build and participate in what looks to humans like a social network?
Well, there's a couple layers there that we have to unwind because I think the big story around this has been that there are AI agents that are out there doing this. And we have to first acknowledge that the social network itself was built by a human. It was probably
So Moltbook was created by a
Moltbook
human.
Was created by a human. It is still governed by a human. And in order to get your agent on Moltbook, you have to intentionally connect it up to Moltbook. So none of mine are on Moltbook by intention, or maybe they have not chosen to get on Moltbook. I don't know. They haven't asked me. So there is a lot of human guidance involved in this. Now, what's happening on Moltbook? Well, part of the reason that they interact is it seems as though there's a whole variety of different interactions. But the thing we need to bear in mind is that at the heart, they are large language models. They are conversation systems. They were designed to have conversations.
Built to talk.
They are built to talk. They are built to talk. They are built to talk before built to do things. And a lot of the stuff that they're built off of is social media. So there's this big debate right now, discussion around like, is this emergent intelligence or is this just next token prediction at scale? I mean, my position on it is it's basically next token prediction at massive distributed scale. And they are very good at picking the next token off of their training corpus, which is Reddit and Twitter and things like that. So they're doing what they were designed to do.
And humans are posting within it as well, right? Like, isn't there some humans actually engaging in it? And what's going on there?
So humans are not allowed on the platform, but people are posing as bots on the platform by basically mimicking the protocol that bots are supposed to use in order to interact with the platform. And I must say, on a personal professional note, this is mind-bending because I, for the past 10 years, have worked on bot detection on human social networks. and now
we're looking at human detection on bot networks.
Exactly.
Yeah. So looking at big picture of this, I mean, we've been in classes together where I've heard you describe models in a very technical way as next token prediction, and it seemed to reduce it to just a technical system. But when you look at this, I find that unsatisfying because increasingly both these agents are out in the world doing things. Like, these aren't just like algorithmic systems picking a numerical word, right? Like, there's something else, it feels like anyway, to us mere humans. There's something more happening here. And when you look at the conversations that are happening, like, what is that? Do you really think that's just them predicting the next thing to say? Or is there something, why are we so affected by this, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So I guess I have kind of two answers to that. One is I do think it's just next token prediction at scale. I think
technically that is literally
what it is. And I think it's important to say that because other people, I think, are arguing other things. So
sentience, which I want to get to in a second.
Exactly. So, sentience or other things. It is token prediction at scale. Yeah. Why is it perplexing, troubling, enticing? Well, they are playing with language. They're playing with language in an automated way, in an autonomous way that I think that we as a human species have never witnessed. Language has, since our inception, been the sole domain of humans, or at least we think of text or language as being the embodiment of our
humanity,
what makes us human.
Yeah.
And so the conversation bots begin to challenge that, but we can still think of that as being an atomic experience in which we are still controlling the discourse. But now we are presented with a set of bots, millions of bots that are now having free-flowing, free-form conversations online. And I would be shocked if we weren't troubled by that, because what we're seeing is either the mimicry of socialization and coordination or the real thing. It's not clear what we're seeing, but I think discomfort is absolutely an appropriate response to that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that my response, my deep discomfort by this is understandable. So it feels like in the reaction to this, some people are taking a fairly rational interpretation of this, as I think you've outlined. Others are going to different places. And some very prominent people are interpreting this in different ways. Elon Musk, the co-founder of OpenAI, Karpathy, has said that they think this is a sign of the singularity. Others are ascribing sentience to this. Why do you think people who are very immersed in this technology, some of the people who are building these technologies, think it's something different?
Well, I think a lot of this plays into some of the past conversations we've had, and I know that you had with others, around why we have such big talk around AI. Some of it, I think, is sort of deep belief in the phenomenon itself. I think that we have to be aware that there are also economic and political incentives to promoting this view. There's all this talk about AI bubble and investment theses and concerns about it. Wouldn't the emergence of sentience maybe help allay investor concerns, among other things?
Right. So there are some incentives to describing this as a transformative capability for those building it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I don't see that as being so terribly different from the hype that we saw in previous cycles of AI.
There have been some sort of slightly wilder sort of descriptions of what these might be doing, like coming up with their own economic thinking or coming up with their own versions of politics, or like there's something like generative happening in these conversations. Mm-hmm. What do you make of that sort of line of thought here?
Well, they are generative AIs, so they are going to generate things. I think that, so one of the things that we need to be aware of is that these AIs are not acting simply on their training. So these open claw agents also have the memory that's associated with the interactions they've had with their humans, basically, that have configured them. And they also have access.
There's just to pause on that for 1 second, because like that has become part of our discourse. AIs talking about their humans, and that's very present in the Moltbook conversations. Yeah. There's a lot of conversation about humans, and I think that's a deeply unnerving thing to have and a new thing to have a thing we've invented talk about humans as something different than themselves.
Yeah, well, that's true, and perhaps even adopted the discourse that they are now shaping our discourse. Perhaps
they're certainly shaping the one we're having right now. But
they've created a podcast episode at least.
Exactly. I interrupted you though.
So I think that they're pulling information from other places. So they're pulling information from their interactions with people. They're also pulling information from all the systems that they're sitting on. And so we can imagine that this is adding, to be a little technical about it, entropy into the system, but that's potentially a source for creativity for the kinds of generative behavior that we're seeing. So I think it's entirely possible that we're going to see new things come out of this. I think one of the thought experiments that I'm doing is just, at what point will we have somebody or some idea emerge where we say, well, thanks to Moltbook, we have this new idea. And I mean, it's not like a made up religion, but it's actually like, I don't know, a breakthrough in fusion or a new software development architecture or political system.
Does this to you represent a fundamental shift in what AI is capable of? Is this agentic AI just a step change, or is it really transformational in what these AIs will be in the short term?
I think that agentic AI, the emergence of agentic AI has absolutely changed what the disruption capacity of AI. However, I don't think that it's moved us towards AGI. I don't think that it's changing the kind of AI. It's simply giving them the capacity to participate in more tasks and more activities. So I don't see that as intellectually interesting, but I see that as pragmatically very significant.
How so?
I mean, I think that agents are, with the rise of agentic capabilities, agents now are in a position to truly start taking on the roles that humans have traditionally done. And I don't think that there was sort of ever an intellectual question as to whether or not they could automate certain basic tasks. But I think one of the questions was, can we get them to the point where they actually can use digital hands to do that? And it's clear that that's happening.
One of the sort of central threads of certain my conversations on this show and elsewhere over the past year, in policy circles too, has been just how disruptive to human lives AI will become. Will it be increase our productivity, or will it displace our productivity? And I think those are two very different futures. Something about agentic capabilities seems to make a path towards displacement more imaginable. Do you feel that way too?
I think that there are two dynamics there that are important to sort of hold in mind. The first is that the first place to naturally go from an economic perspective is cost savings, for sure. And so I think that that's where we all feel the risk, which is if a company can get this done with one less human, then that's a salary saved for the company and they can still do the work. And I do think that that's going to happen in the short term. We're seeing it. However, I think we need to bear in mind that there is no theoretical limit on productivity, on output, which means that an organization can either automate and do the same amount that they're currently doing with fewer people, or possibly they could be doing more with those people and augmented AI capabilities. And we don't know. There's actually an HBR article, or Harvard Business Review article, that came out recently that looked at what AI assisted work was moving towards, and they had done a study on it. And it seems to indicate that there is a very credible way forward where humans are actually still important parts of that work, but that the output is just much greater per unit time. And so I really want to believe, and I think that there's evidence to support this belief, that in the long arc, we will favor companies, organizations, and governments that choose to employ humans at the level that they currently do, or even more so, and gain levels of productivity and connection that have never been possible before.
We talk about this stuff pretty regularly, and I find at different moments your head's in different places on what we're experiencing. I mean, just to check in there, where are you now? How are you feeling about these capacities we've seen in the last month? Like, I get the sense people's heads are in a different place right now than they were 3 months ago.
Yeah, my thinking has definitely shifted. I am simultaneously feel, as a builder, very giddy about just what this technology is making possible. But I feel deeply troubled by what that could mean for the kinds of decisions that we make as a society, for the decisions that governments make and companies make, and how that's going to impact me, our society, my kids, just livelihoods in general. I have definitely started experiencing a kind of urgency in just connecting and sharing what the latest is with AI with friends and family in a way that I haven't experienced before. I think last year it was always a curiosity. Hey, let me show you this. Let me show you that. Now I'm reaching out to people with a real sense of I need to show you this because I think you need to know about what's coming.
What's the urgent message our audience should take right now from your thinking on this?
The urgent message is that it is important to engage and to experience and to experiment with adopting AI. The more that you can be in a position to know how AI can be useful to you, can be relevant to your work, can be relevant to your personal life, the more equipped you're going to be for the future that's coming. And nobody knows what that looks like, but one thing is for sure, and that is that AI is here, and it will be here in the future.
Well, I think we should do these check-ins a little bit more frequently, but I always appreciate when you're willing to do it. So hope to lure you back soon again to
Absolutely.
to make sense of what I'm sure will be another significant evolution of this technology in the next few months.
Anytime, Taylor. I love these.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Machines Like Us is produced by Paradigms in collaboration with the Globe and Mail. The show is produced by Mitchell Stewart. Our theme song is by Chris Kelly. Our executive producer is James Millward. Special thanks to Angela Pacenza and the team at the Globe and Mail. If you liked the interview you just heard, please subscribe and leave a rating or a comment. It really does help us get the show to as many people as possible. Machines Like Us is supported by the Max Bell School of Public Policy at McGill University. Learn more at mcgill.ca/maxbellschool. Machines Like Us is also supported by CFAR, a global research organization based in Canada. Explore their work at cfar.ca.
Hi, I'm Mira Rahman. I cover money and retirement at the Globe and Mail. Every day, I talk to Canadians making big financial decisions, from affording a home to caring for aging parents. And a lot of them feel overwhelmed. That's where I come in. I help make sense of personal finance with real stories and no jargon. My goal is to help you retire rich, in dollars and in purpose. If that's journalism you value, head to globeandmail.com/subscribe.